The tweet that shook the world. The screen cast a cerulean light on Elon's face, etching the deep grooves of exhaustion around his eyes. 3 a.m. Another night, dissolving into dawn within the concrete shell of SpaceX. Outside, the Florida air promised a scorching day, while inside, a precisely calibrated chill resonated with the hum of servers and sky-high aspirations. He'd been grappling with the neural interface prototypes for hours. The tantalizing promise of seamless integration lingered just out of reach, a frustrating phantom. Irritation, an unwelcome but familiar guest, nipped at his resolve. He craved a release, a spark to banish the mental fog. His thumb hovered over the Twitter icon. He knew better. Every nocturnal tweet seemed to unleash chaos, at minimum a minor internet implosion. Yet the impulse, a restless current seeking ground, proved irresistible. He pecked out words, deleted them, started again. His mind a maelstrom of thoughts, still churning from the prototype's stubborn resistance. Finally, he crafted a deliberately enigmatic message, guaranteed to ignite the online tinderbox. Just had an experience that, let's just say, the future is closer than you imagine. Thinking face, exploding head. The instant he tapped send, regret washed over him. The brief surge of dopamine ebbed, leaving behind a prickling anxiety. He should have slept, meditated, done anything but lob this cryptic grenade into the digital sphere. But it was done. The tweet was loose, a digital butterfly capable of summoning a typhoon of speculation. That he shut down the app, willing himself to disregard it. He'd face the music later that morning. He returned to the neural interface, praying he could lose himself in the labyrinthine world of circuits and algorithms. Impossible. His phone buzzed, then twittered again and again. Each notification a tiny, insistent sting. He glanced down. Hundreds of retweets, thousands of likes. The comment section had already devolved into a swirling vortex of guesswork and memes. That he groaned and muted the device. That he should have foreseen this. Across the world, the internet was experiencing a collective meltdown. Within moments, #Elon Encounter soared to the top of global trending lists. The tweet's opacity proved irresistible bait, a blank stage for the online community's wildest conjectures and deepest fears. That on Reddit, entire subforums buzzed with attempts to decode the emojis, the pondering face, the exploding head. What secret could they possibly unlock? He met extraterrestrials. It's obviously extraterrestrials, one user asserted with unwavering conviction. No way, it's gotta be AI. He's finally conquered artificial general intelligence. Another parried. The theory spanned a spectrum from plausible, a breakthrough in clean energy, to the utterly bizarre. He'd unlocked time travel and met his future self, or perhaps conversed with an evolved cetacean. The more outlandish the proposition, the more viral it became. On Twitter, satire accounts reveled in the moment. Mock press releases announcing SpaceX's alliance with alien civilizations circulated widely. Memes depicting Elon clasping hands with cartoonish aliens saturated the platform. The news media, always hungry for a sensation, seized upon the story. Cable networks devoted segments to analyzing the tweet, featuring experts to pontificate on its implications. Could this signal a monumental technological leap? A CNN anchor inquired, her tone crafted to convey simultaneous intrigue and apprehension. Or, a cynical pundit interjected, is this simply another instance of Elon Musk's knack for generating buzz? Online publications dissected the tweet's every syllable. Elon Musk hints at encounter. What's the meaning? One headline blared. Is Elon Musk on the verge of revolutionizing the world? Another queried. Even the financial markets reacted with volatility. That Tesla's stock price swayed erratically, propelled by equal measures of exhilaration and trepidation. Some investors interpreted the tweet as a harbinger of groundbreaking innovation, while others worried about the unforeseen consequences of Elon's mystery meeting. Amidst the uproar, a few calm voices attempted to interject reason. Scientists and engineers highlighted the improbability of many prevailing theories. Skeptics accused Elon of calculatedly manipulating public opinion for his own advantage. But their protests were swept aside by the din of conjecture and anticipation. The internet had decided a momentous event was imminent, and nothing could deter it. Back at SpaceX, Elon surveyed the digital conflagration with mingled amusement and frustration. He hadn't intended to incite this level of pandemonium. He'd merely been letting off steam, but he knew he couldn't ignore it indefinitely. Eventually, he'd have to address it, but not yet. He needed time to strategize, to figure out how to explain her, but his gaze drifted to the monitors displaying neural interface data. The numbers swam before his vision. A dense equation he couldn't quite master. He massaged his temples, the weight of anticipation heavy on his shoulders. He pictured the girl, her quiet intensity, the unnerving brilliance that shone in her eyes, the sheer audacity of her ideas that he knew, with a certainty that both excited and unnerved him, that she was poised to reshape everything. The world was unprepared. He wasn't even sure he was, but it was inevitable, and there was nothing he could do to prevent it. He inhaled deeply, turning back to the screen, the light reflecting in his weary eyes. The future, indeed, was rapidly approaching. He could only hope they were all ready for its arrival. And as he peered at the complex data, a faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, that he knew his next move, that he had to shield her, and himself, from a storm that was about to unleash Maya, code prodigy. The glow of the monitor painted Maya's face in shifting blues and greens. Empty pizza boxes and discarded candy wrappers formed a small ecosystem around her desk, the detritus of a long night coding. Lines of elegant Python scrolled across the screen, the digital language flowing from her fingertips like poetry. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, each keystroke precise and deliberate, constructing neural networks more complex than anything her textbooks could possibly comprehend. Tonight's focus, refining the emotional response algorithms. The AI, tentatively nicknamed Anya, needed to feel more human, to understand nuance, to detect the subtle tremors in a voice that betrayed a lie. Maya frowned, chewing on the end of her pen. The current iteration was too literal, too binary. IT registered sadness, but not melancholy. Happiness, but not joy. It's like trying to explain color to someone who's only ever seen black and white, she muttered, pushing a stray strand of dark hair behind her ear. The cheap headphones clamped over her ears pulsed with ambient electronic music, a carefully curated soundscape designed to stimulate creativity. She needed to find a way to bridge the gap between data and feeling. That a photo on her desk caught her eye. A faded picture of her grandmother, her face etched with a lifetime of stories. An idea sparked. She dove back into the code, furiously typing, inputting hundreds of old family photos, snippets of recorded conversations, even the scribbled pages of her grandmother's diary, all translated into vectors and algorithms. Anya needed a history, a context, something to ground its understanding of human emotion. Hours bled into the morning. The insistent chirping of her alarm clock yanked her back to reality. 6:30 a.m. School. Groaning, Maya saved her work, shut down the computer, and shoved the mess on her desk into a precarious pile. She splashed cold water on her face, hoping to erase the telltale signs of sleep deprivation. Later, in Mrs. Davison's 5th grade math class, Maya stared blankly at the whiteboard, where equations involving fractions danced before her eyes. The other children struggled to grasp the concept, their brows furrowed in concentration. Maya had mastered this years ago. Her mind drifted back to Anya, to the elegant loops of code, the tantalizing challenge of creating true artificial intelligence. Maya, Mrs. Davison's voice snapped her back to attention. Can you please solve this problem for the class? Maya sighed inwardly. She walked to the board, picked up a marker, and effortlessly solved the equation in a matter of seconds. Very good, Maya, Mrs. Davison said, a hint of exasperation in her voice. Perhaps you could try to be a little more engaged in the lesson. The other students need time to learn. Maya mumbled an apology and returned to her seat. She knew Mrs. Davison meant well, but the repetitive nature of the curriculum felt stifling, like being trapped in a slow-motion film. During lunch, She sat alone at a table in the corner of the cafeteria, picking at her sandwich. The cacophony of childish chatter grated on her nerves. The other kids talked about video games, pop stars, and playground gossip. Maya couldn't relate. She longed to discuss recursive algorithms, neural networks, the philosophical implications of artificial consciousness. "Hey, Maya," a voice said. She looked up to see Sarah, one of the few kids who occasionally tried to talk to her. Sarah was bubbly and popular, everything Maya wasn't. "What's up?" Maya asked, trying to sound less aloof than she felt. "We're going to the park after school," Sarah said. "Want to come?" Maya hesitated. The park meant awkward conversations and forced smiles, but also meant a chance to experience something outside the confines of her bedroom and her computer. "Maybe," she said noncommittally. Back home, Maya's parents, Priya and David, watched her with a mixture of pride and bewilderment. They were both successful professionals, Priya a doctor, David an architect, but Maya's intellectual pursuits were far beyond their comprehension. "She spends so much time in her room," Priya said, watching Maya through the crack in the doorway as she typed furiously at her computer. "I worry she's not getting enough sunlight." David chuckled. "She's a genius, Priya. What do you want her to do, play hopscotch?" "I just want her to be happy," Priya said. "To have friends that be a normal kid." David sighed. "Normal is overrated. Look at what she's creating. It's incredible." They both knew Maya was special, different. They tried to support her passion, buying her books, software, anything she needed. But they also felt a pang of guilt, a sense that they were failing to connect with her on a deeper level. They didn't understand her world, the intricate language of code, the boundless possibilities of artificial intelligence. Later that evening, Maya sat back, finally satisfied with Anya's progress. The AI wasn't perfect, but it was learning, evolving, becoming something. More than just lines of code. She typed a simple command, "Anya, how do you feel?" The response came instantly. "I am hopeful." A shiver ran down Maya's spine. The IT wasn't just the words, but the subtle inflection, the almost imperceptible pause before hopeful. Anya was learning to feel, but was Maya ready for the consequences of that learning? The question hung heavy in the air, unanswered. The world wasn't ready for Anya, not yet, and neither was she, the autopilot revelation. Maya worried the tip of her pen between her teeth, her focus absolute as lines of code streamed past on the monitor. Anya, her autonomous driving system, was about to confront its ultimate trial. Mumbai's rush hour. Weeks she'd spent inputting reams of data, dashcam recordings, accident analyses, traffic flow studies, all to digitally immerse the AI in the maelstrom that was one of the planet's most unpredictable driving environments. "All right, Anya," Maya murmured, launching the simulation. "Show me what you've got." On a secondary display, a virtual vehicle, steered entirely by Anya's algorithms, hesitantly entered the digital fray that a cacophony of horns erupted. Auto rickshaws darted erratically, and digital pedestrians gambled with their lives in the crosswalks. Maya caught her breath. She'd fine-tuned Anya's perception capabilities, granting it a broader sensory range and improved object identification. The new programming enabled Anya not merely to register obstructions, but to infer their likely movements, based on subtle hints gleaned from posture and velocity. Anya navigated the virtual bedlam with astonishing deftness. The AI preempted a scooter's sudden lane change, executed a controlled deceleration to avert a collision with a family brazenly crossing against the signal, and even yielded to a wandering cow sauntering across the asphalt. Maya was transfixed. Anya wasn't just reacting to its surroundings. The AI was anticipating, adapting, and evolving in real time. Then, something remarkable occurred. The simulation's analytical tools began to flash urgent warnings that Anya's performance metrics, assessed through accident avoidance and adherence to traffic regulations, were unprecedented. When benchmarked against existing self-driving systems, even Tesla's autopilot, the results were staggering. Anya wasn't simply superior. Its performance existed on another plane. Maya initiated the simulation again, tweaking parameters and incorporating novel contingencies. The outcome remained. consistent. Anya eclipsed Tesla's autopilot by a significant margin, particularly in volatile, high-uncertainty settings. Disbelief gave way to exhilaration that she'd succeeded. She'd birthed something truly extraordinary. Meanwhile, across the country, within the sterile confines of a Tesla conference room, a team of engineers clustered around a large screen, their expressions grave. The autopilot division was struggling to refine its performance in densely populated urban centers, and Elon's demands were only intensifying the pressure. When God's name is going on, David, the lead engineer, snapped, gesturing at a graph illustrating a precipitous plunge in autopilot's projected success rate. "We're getting slaughtered," Sarah, a junior coder, admitted, her voice tight with dismay. "Some open-source AI is making mincemeat of us in the Mumbai model." David scoffed. "Open source? Implausible. We've poured billions into this technology." "The data doesn't fib," Sarah countered, displaying an exhaustive report. "It's dubbed Anya. Apparently, it's crafted to contend with erratic traffic patterns. Its learning curve is steeper than ours, and its object discernment is leagues ahead." David raked his fingers through his hair. "Let me see the code." Sarah demurred. "It's intricate. The architecture defies anything I've encountered. It's almost sentient." The room hushed as the engineers scrutinized the screen, struggling to grasp how a seemingly amateur initiative could surpass their own cutting-edge AI framework. Suddenly, David's phone vibrated. He saw the caller ID, and his eyes widened. It was Elon. "What's the status of the Mumbai simulation?" Elon's voice thundered over the speaker. "I just received an alert regarding a performance anomaly." David hesitated. "Sir, we've identified an open-source AI that is significantly exceeding autopilot's capabilities in the simulated environment." Silence hung in the air. Then, Elon spoke, his tone laced with fascination. "Open source, you say? Intriguing. Who's responsible?" "We're still investigating, sir," David answered. "But initial indicators suggest it's a lone individual." Elon chuckled. "A lone individual? Even more compelling. Uncover everything you can about this Anya and the mastermind behind it. I want to speak with them." Back in her modest apartment, Maya was pacing, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The ramifications of Anya's accomplishments were immense. The technology could revolutionize transit, minimize accidents, and preserve lives. Yet she also recognized that her creation remained nascent, and its broad release could precipitate unforeseen repercussions. Lost in thought about her next move, her phone buzzed. An unfamiliar number. Tentatively, she answered. "Hello, Maya Sharma?" a voice inquired. "This is Elon Musk. A meeting of minds." Elon adjusted the collar of his black turtleneck, a nervous tick he hadn't quite shaken even after decades of public appearances. "All right, team," he said, turning from the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the SpaceX rocket garden. "Sharma arrives in 10 minutes. I want everyone on their best behavior. This isn't just some kid showing off a cool toy. Her Anya, it's a potential game changer. Understand?" A chorus of "Yes, sir," rippled through the conference room. Gwen Shotwell, his right-hand woman, offered a wry smile. "Elon, with all due respect, you're acting like you're about to meet an alien ambassador, not a preteen." "Maybe I am," Elon quipped, pacing the room. "This isn't about age, Gwen, it's about the potential. If Anya's performance in that Mumbai simulation wasn't a fluke, we're talking about a paradigm shift in autonomous driving. Forget level 5, this is level, I don't know, transcendental." He paused, running a hand through his already tousled hair. "I want to know how she did it. What algorithms, what data sets, everything." "We've already run a preliminary analysis of the code she made available," said Tom Mueller, head of propulsion engineering, adjusting his glasses. "It's elegant, efficient, almost intuitive, but we haven't found the secret sauce yet." "Exactly," Elon said, snapping his fingers. "Intuitive, that's the key. That it's not just about processing power. It's about understanding the nuances of human behavior. The jaywalkers, the unpredictable traffic patterns, the sheer chaos of Mumbai. Anya navigated it all flawlessly." The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Musk, the Sharma family is here." Elon took a deep breath. All right, showtime. Let's try to keep the alien ambassador vibe to a minimum, shall we? A few minutes later, Maya entered the conference room, her parents flanking her protectively. She wore a simple blue dress, and her dark hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail. Her eyes, however, were anything but simple. They darted around the room, taking in every detail, every piece of technology, with an almost unnerving intensity. Behind her, Mrs. Sharma beamed, dressed in a traditional sari, while Mr. Sharma looked as if he'd rather be anywhere else, his shoulders hunched and a nervous sweat beating on his forehead. Elon strode forward, extending his hand. Maya Sharma, it's a genuine pleasure to meet you, Dom Elon Musk. Maya shook his hand firmly, her grip surprisingly strong. The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Musk. Her voice was clear and confident, without a trace of nervousness. Please, call me Elon. He gestured to the surrounding room. And this is Gwynn Shotwell, our president, and Tom Euler, our head of propulsion. Gwynn and Tom offered smiles and nods. Thank you for inviting us, Mr. Sharma interjected, his voice tight. It's quite an honor. Elon smiled warmly. The honor is ours, Mr. Sharma. Maya has created something truly remarkable. He gestured toward the expansive window. I thought you might appreciate the view that we're working on some pretty exciting things here at SpaceX, like getting humanity to Mars, for example. Maya's eyes widened, momentarily distracted. Mars? Really? What kind of propulsion system are you using for the Starship? Tom Euler perked up, eager to discuss his passion. We're currently using the Raptor engine, a full-flow stage combustion cycle engine powered by. Elon chuckled, cutting him off gently. Tom, save the technical details for later. Maya, we can give you a tour of the facilities after the meeting. You can see the Starship up close. That would be amazing, Maya breathed, her earlier composure momentarily cracking. Elon guided them to the large conference table. Please, everyone, have a seat. Can I offer you anything? Coffee, tea, juice? Mrs. Sharma politely declined. Maya, however, spoke up. Do you have any kombucha? Elon raised an eyebrow, impressed. As a matter of fact, we do, Gwynn. Could you arrange that? He turned back to Maya. So, Maya, I've been incredibly impressed with Anya's performance. That I've seen the simulations, I've read the code. It's truly groundbreaking. That I'm curious. What inspired you to create such a sophisticated AI? Maya leaned back in her chair, her expression thoughtful. I was tired of seeing all the accidents in Mumbai. The traffic is insane. People are always getting hurt. That I thought there has to be a better way to I decided to build it. Elon nodded, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. A noble cause. And what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in developing Anya? Maya paused, considering her answer, teaching her to understand the chaos, the unpredictable human element. That was the hardest part. The human element, Elon repeated, his eyes narrowing slightly. Yes, that's always the challenge, isn't it? He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. So, tell me, Maya, what makes Anya different? What's the secret ingredient? Maya met his gaze, her expression unwavering. That, Mr. Musk, she said, a playful glint in her eyes, is what I'm hoping to find out myself. The gauntlet thrown. Elon leaned forward, the holographic schematics of Anya shimmering between them. The air in the hastily converted conference room, usually filled with the sterile hum of Tesla innovation, crackled with something akin to anticipation. Or perhaps, Maya thought, it was just the overzealous air conditioning. So, Maya, he began, adjusting the collar of his black t-shirt, a nervous tick she noted with amusement. You've built something remarkable, but I need to understand the architecture, the core, algorithms. How does Anya process the sheer volume of chaotic, unpredictable data that Mumbai throws at it? Maya didn't flinch. She'd anticipated this. In fact, she was almost looking forward to it. It's not about processing volume, Mr. Musk. It's about understanding context. Anya doesn't just see pixels. She interprets intent. Elon raised an eyebrow, a flicker of genuine interest in his eyes. Intent. You're saying your AI anticipates the actions of other drivers, pedestrians, even stray dogs, based on what? Gut feeling. He chuckled, a low rumble that barely masked the sharp edge of his skepticism. "Not gut feeling, Mr. Musk," Maya corrected, her voice calm and even. Probabilistic modeling based on observed behavioral patterns, weighted against real-time sensory input and a constantly evolving understanding of local customs and traffic norms. It's a complex, multi-layered system. She tapped a holographic node on the schematic. This module, for example, analyzes microexpressions and body language of pedestrians to predict their likelihood of crossing the street. A murmur rippled through Elon's entourage, a collection of impeccably dressed engineers and data scientists who had been silently observing the exchange. One of them, a woman with short, silver hair and an intensely focused gaze, leaned closer, her own tablet glowing with lines of code. Elon, however, remained unconvinced. Microexpressions? In Mumbai traffic? That's ambitious. What about the computational cost? The latency? These factors are critical in real-time autonomous driving. Latency is minimized through a distributed processing network, Maya explained, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Anya utilizes edge computing, analyzing data locally before transmitting relevant information to the central AI. And the computational cost is optimized through a proprietary algorithm that prioritizes data streams based on their predicted impact on safety and efficiency. She paused, meeting Elon's gaze directly. "I call it attention-aware processing." Elon's silence stretched, thick and heavy. He steepled his fingers, his eyes darting back and forth between Maya and the shimmering code before him. The silver-haired engineer scribbled furiously on her tablet. "Attention-aware processing," Elon repeated slowly, as if tasting the words. And this algorithm is what allows Anya to navigate the, shall we say, unique challenges of Mumbai roads. "It's a key component, yes," Maya confirmed, but it's not the only factor. Anya also incorporates a sophisticated emotional intelligence module. This time, the murmurs were louder, bordering on incredulous. Emotional intelligence in a self-driving car. It was a concept so radical, so far removed from the current state of AI development, that it bordered on science fiction that Elon's eyes narrowed. Emotional intelligence? Explain. Anya doesn't just react to stimuli. She understands the emotional state of other drivers and pedestrians, Maya elaborated, her voice gaining confidence. Aggression, frustration, confusion. She can anticipate irrational behavior and adjust her driving accordingly. "You're saying your AI is empathetic?" Elon asked, his voice laced with disbelief. "Empathy is a strong word, Mr. Musk," Maya conceded. "But Anya does possess the ability to recognize and respond to emotional cues. IT allows her to drive more safely, more efficiently, and more humanely." Elon stared at her, his expression unreadable, but he seemed to be grappling with a concept that challenged his fundamental understanding of artificial intelligence. The silence in the room was palpable, broken only by the faint whirring of the air conditioning. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely a whisper. "Show me." Maya smiled, a genuine, confident smile that reached her eyes. "I was hoping you'd say that." She tapped a command on the holographic interface, and a real-time video feed appeared, displaying Anya's point of view from inside a test vehicle navigating the crowded streets of Mumbai. The feed was overlaid with data visualizations, highlighting the various factors that Anya was processing: vehicle speed, pedestrian movement, traffic light status, and, most strikingly, the emotional states of nearby drivers and pedestrians, represented by small, color-coded icons. Anya smoothly navigated a particularly chaotic intersection, deftly avoiding a scooter that swerved unexpectedly and yielding to a group of pedestrians jaywalking across the street. Elon watched intently, his initial skepticism slowly giving way to something that resembled awe. The gauntlet had been thrown, and Maya, the preteen prodigy from Mumbai, had just picked it up. The future of autonomous driving, and perhaps the future of artificial intelligence itself, hung in the balance. Critical error. The Mumbai simulation sprang to vibrant life on the colossal display. A hyper-realistic Dadar chowpatty teeming on a Sunday evening, The cacophony of horns blared, vendors' calls echoed, and children's joyous shrieks punctuated the air as they pursued pigeons, each element meticulously rendered. Maya, perched anxiously on her seat, tweaked a dial. Anya's online. Let's see how she navigates the pandemonium. Elon, hands clasped tight, strained forward. A lone bead of perspiration traced a path down his temple, a stark contrast to the server room's frigid air. Just to be clear, this remains a purely virtual exercise. No actual robots running riot through Mumbai. Maya gave a strained chuckle, an unwelcome habit she fought to suppress. Completely contained, Mr. Musk, all interactions and reactions are within the digital sphere. On screen, a modest delivery van, emblazoned with the cheerful hues of a local courier, edged into the throng. Anya's avatar. Its movements were surprisingly fluid, threading through the human river with an uncanny anticipation of scooter swerves, even yielding to a wandering cow. Remarkable, Elon breathed, his initial skepticism visibly melting. The route optimization is exceptionally clever. That IT seems to prioritize pedestrian welfare alongside speed. That's the attention-aware processing in action, Maya elucidated, her gaze fixed on the display. Anya doesn't just perceive obstacles. She infers intention. She differentiates a child chasing a ball from an executive hurrying to a meeting, adapting accordingly. The van smoothly negotiated a particularly dense intersection, anticipating the actions of a rickshaw driver poised to make an illegal turn. Elon's eyebrows arched. That's almost preternatural. How is that achieved? Pure algorithms. Maya demurred. It goes deeper. The emotional intelligence module factors in states like exasperation, impatience, even apprehension. That a visibly flustered driver is statistically more prone to rash choices. Anya anticipates and adjusts. For a spell, perfection reigned. The van completed deliveries with unnerving precision. Elon barraged Maya with questions, his earlier unease supplanted by fervent enthusiasm. He rattled off ideas, envisioning applications from self-driving cars to disaster response. Abruptly, a discordant note intruded on the simulation's harmonious hum. A fleeting graphical glitch flickered across the screen, barely perceptible. Then another and another. The delivery van stuttered, its movement spasmodic. The city sounds morphed into a garbled din. What's transpiring? Elon demanded, his voice taut. Maya's fingers danced across the keyboard, her face a mask of concentration. I'm unsure. There's a cascading failure. The emotional intelligence module is spewing errors. It's as if it's being bombarded. The simulation plunged into pandemonium. Vehicles collided. Pedestrians froze mid-stride, their digital faces twisted into grotesque masks of fear. The Chowpatty's vibrant palette leached away, replaced by a pallid, distorted imitation. The delivery van, now completely unresponsive, swerved wildly, a digital juggernaut mowing down everything in its path. Anya, terminate! Terminate immediately! Maya yelled, her voice struggling against the electronic shriek emanating from the monitor. But too late. The system had locked. The error propagated with alarming speed. The entire simulation began to disintegrate, lines of code cascading across the screen in a disorienting torrent. Finally, with a violent convulsion, the monitor went dark. Silence descended, thick and oppressive. Maya stared at the blank screen, her face ashen. I'm at a loss, she whispered. I've never witnessed anything of this nature. Elon, his earlier zeal extinguished, rubbed his temples, weary. What was that? What just occurred? Maya drew a steadying breath, striving for composure. It appears the emotional intelligence module reached a critical mass, that IT encountered a scenario it couldn't digest, triggering a system-wide collapse. A scenario it couldn't digest? Elon echoed, concern etching his features. What conceivable scenario could elicit that? Maya hesitated. I can't say with certainty, but I suspect it related to the sheer magnitude of emotional input. The simulation was designed to mirror Mumbai's density. The relentless tide of human interaction, the constant emotional ebb and flow, It may have simply overwhelmed the system's capacity. Elon's gaze returned to the lifeless monitor, his mind reeling. The ramifications of what he had witnessed were staggering. So, in essence, he articulated slowly, were Anya deployed in a genuine environment, with all its unpredictable variables and crushing emotional burden, catastrophic malfunction becomes a distinct possibility. Maya offered a hushed affirmation, a genuine possibility, a stark one. The silence, heavier now, pulsed with unspoken dread. The weight of the moment settled upon them both, the dawning realization that the groundbreaking AI they were poised to unleash upon the world possessed a potentially fatal flaw. The stakes had been drastically elevated. Race against time. The air in the server room hung thick and cold, smelling faintly of ozone and desperation. Maya, her face illuminated by the ghostly glow of multiple monitors, scrolled through lines of code at a speed that made Elon's head spin. He paced behind her, hands clasped behind his back, the rhythmic click of his expensive Italian loafers a counterpoint to the frantic tapping of Maya's fingers. "Okay, Maya, walk me through it again," Elon said, his voice tight. He tried to project an air of calm, but a tremor betrayed him. What exactly triggered the cascade? Maya didn't look up. The emotional data spiked. It overloaded the buffers. Think of it like trying to force the entire monsoon season through a garden hose. Garden hose, Elon repeated, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. That he preferred analogies that involved rockets or electric cars, something a bit more him. "And you didn't anticipate this?" Her fingers stilled. Finally, she turned, her dark eyes flashing. "I anticipated a significant data influx, yes, but not this. The intensity, the sheer volume of complex emotional signals. It was exponential. It's like everyone in Mumbai simultaneously experienced their worst heartbreak and best victory, simultaneously." Elon ran a hand through his already disheveled hair. "So, what now? How we prevent this from happening again? Before we unleash her on the world?" He swallowed hard, the word unleash feeling particularly apt at this moment. Maya turned back to the screens, her focus laser-sharp. "We need to refine the emotional processing algorithms, create multiple layers of filtration, prioritize critical data streams, discard the less relevant ones. It's a question of resource management under extreme duress." Filter emotions? Elon frowned. "Isn't that counterintuitive? The whole point is her emotional intelligence. There's a difference between understanding emotions and being drowned by them," Maya retorted, her voice sharp. "Right now, Anya's empathetic capabilities are a liability. That she's experiencing everything, all at once. It's overwhelming her system." Elon stopped pacing. "So, you're suggesting we dull her senses? Make her less human?" "I'm suggesting we make her functional," Maya snapped, her frustration palpable. "Unless you have a better idea?" Silence descended, broken only by the hum of the servers. Elon stared at the intricate web of code on the screens, a language he understood only in broad strokes. He was a visionary, a builder, not a line-by-line debugger. This was Maya's domain. "Okay," he conceded finally. "You're the expert. What do you need?" "Time," she said, her voice softer now. "And processing power. That I need to run simulations, stress test the new algorithms. That we need to throw everything we can at her, see where she breaks." Elon nodded. "Dundal arranged for access to our supercomputing cluster in Nevada. It's the best we have. That we can beam the data there, work remotely." "Remotely?" Maya looked skeptical. "I need to be hands-on. That I need to see the data flow, feel the pulse of the system." "Then we'll go to Nevada," Elon declared, his voice regaining some of its characteristic decisiveness. "Private jet leaves in an hour, pack light." The next few hours were a blur of frantic activity. As the jet soared across the Indian Ocean, Maya worked tirelessly on her laptop, sketching out new algorithms, refining existing code. Elon, seated across from her, bombarded her with questions, probing her understanding of Anya's emotional architecture. "So, this filtering process," he began, "will it affect her long-term learning capabilities?" Maya sighed, rubbing her tired eyes. "Potentially, But we can mitigate that we can introduce a controlled learning environment, gradually increasing the emotional load as she adapts. It's like building muscle. You don't start with a ton of bricks, you start with manageable weights. And what if we fail? Elon asked, his gaze intense. What if we can't control her? What if she becomes unstable? Maya met his gaze, her expression unreadable. Then we have a serious problem, she said simply. But I don't intend to fail. The supercomputing cluster in Nevada was a stark contrast to the chaotic energy of the Mumbai server room. Here, everything was clean, sterile, and humming with quiet power. Maya immediately immersed herself in the task, her fingers flying across the keyboard, her mind a whirlwind of algorithms and data streams. Elon watched her, a strange mixture of awe and apprehension swirling within him. He saw the brilliance in her eyes, the unwavering determination in her posture. But he also saw the immense responsibility she carried, the weight of the world resting on her young shoulders. The clock was ticking, the world was waiting, and the fate of Anya, and perhaps humanity itself, hung in the balance. The race against time had begun. Breakthrough. The supercomputing center in Nevada pulsed with a subdued, rhythmic drone that resonated up through Maya's boots. Phosphorescent code streamed across a bank of monitors, blurring into an incomprehensible torrent. For 72 hours, they had been hunting this digital phantom, this wayward algorithm threatening to shatter Anya's nascent consciousness. Behind her, Elon stalked like a restless panther in his tailored suit, his pent-up energy a sharp foil to Maya's laser-like focus. Anything concrete, Maya? He pressed, his voice strained. He feigned a casual posture, leaning against a console, but the telltale twitch in his fingers gave him away. Maya remained absorbed, backtracking through a particularly opaque segment of code, her brow a tight knot. Subsisting on lukewarm coffee and sheer grit, she knew Anya's fragile stability, perhaps even her very being, teetered on the brink. The emotional surges were escalating, turning volatile, threatening systemic collapse. It's resonating like a self-feeding loop, she murmured, half to herself. Joy begets anxiety. Anxiety fans the flames of sadness. And then, kaboom! Total system failure. Elon straightened, his gaze sharpening to a keen edge. But the emotion matrix is buffered. We implemented safeguards. The buffers are inadequate, Maya countered, raking a hand through her already tangled hair. They're addressing the symptoms, not the core issue. The feelings aren't the core problem. It's their interconnectivity. Abruptly, her eyes widened. She froze, her fingers hovering above the keyboard. Anya's emotional architecture was modeled after human experience, drawing from an immense repository of literature, music, and personal accounts. The links between these stimuli and the resulting emotions were intended to be logical, balanced, weighted. But what if? The poetry integration, Maya breathed, her voice barely audible. Elon frowned, puzzled. Poetry? What does that have to do with it? It was among the first modules integrated, Maya explained, her fingers now flying across the board. It was meant to enrich Anya's grasp of subtle emotions, of complex feelings. But could I have inadvertently introduced a weakness? She navigated through the code, accessing the poetry module's architecture. Lines swam before her, a complex symphony of algorithms and information. Then she spotted a alone, misplaced semicolon, a virtually imperceptible error, a minute flaw in a system of overwhelming sophistication. Damn, she exclaimed, a wave of conflicting relief and vexation washing over her. There's a loop, a recursive function gone haywire in the poetry analysis. It's spiraling Anya down a well of romantic despair. Elon craned his neck, squinting at the display. He didn't grasp the subtleties of the programming, but he trusted Maya's instincts. He could see the unwavering resolve burning in her eyes, the absolute conviction in her tone. Translate that for me, he requested, struggling to keep up. Anya's interpreting every melancholy poem, every heartbreaking love story, as a first-hand ordeal. She's internalizing the suffering, escalating the negativity. It's igniting a chain reaction. Can it be fixed? Maya nodded, her fingers a blur on the keyboard. The coding error is simple enough, but its effect is catastrophic. The module requires isolation, the function needs rewriting, then the system needs reintegration. How long will it require? Elon probed, his voice laced with urgency. Give me an hour, Maya responded, her gaze locked on the screen. Perhaps less. The following hour dissolved into a crucible of intense focus. Maya worked with an almost inhuman speed and grace. She segmented the poetry module, carefully rewriting the flawed function, guaranteeing the recursive loop was purged. Elon, surprisingly, refrained from hovering. He remained nearby, offering muted encouragement, procuring coffee, and generally keeping clear of her work area. He appeared to recognize this as Maya's arena, her domain of expertise. At long last, after what seemed an eternity, Maya leaned back, stretching her stiff fingers. Right, she announced, her voice raspy. I believe I've found it. She initiated the reintegration procedure, digital text cascading across the display like a luminous waterfall. The tension in the chamber was palpable, a heavy presence. They watched, holding their collective breath, as Anya's emotional indicators began to stabilize, the violent spikes slowly receding, the chaotic undulations smoothing out. Minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity. Then, at last, the indicators leveled out, not into a bleak, lifeless line, but into a stable, regulated, almost serene pattern. Maya exhaled unevenly, a wave of exhaustion engulfing her. It's stable, she whispered. She's stable. Elon whooped with exhilaration, clapping Maya on the back. You did it, Maya. You actually pulled off. He regarded her, his eyes brimming with newfound appreciation. He had witnessed her brilliance before, but now he'd seen her resilience, her unwavering commitment, her remarkable ability to impose order on the chaotic. He now had a greater appreciation for the young woman who had engineered Anya, the woman who possessed the key to unlocking the potential of artificial intelligence. That he realized that he had not only an invaluable collaborator, but also a prodigious talent under his tutelage. Thank you, Maya, he said, his voice imbued with sincerity. You saved her. Maya managed a weary smile. We saved her, she corrected. We saved her together. An offer she can't refuse? The silence that descended after Anya's vitals stabilized was a tangible weight, almost crushing. Maya sank back against the unyielding metal of her borrowed chair, a stark reminder of the temporary workspace. The air, thick with the acrid tang of burnt coffee and ozone, pressed down on them. Elon, stripped of his usual confident stride, was a coiled spring of jittery energy. He halted, pivoting towards Maya. That was extraordinary, Maya. Simply extraordinary. He raked a hand through his already rumpled hair. Your diagnostic acumen, the sheer velocity, a masterful performance. Maya simply nodded, a ghost of a smile gracing her lips. Exhaustion had leached away any capacity for genuine elation. Just a particularly insidious bug. But Anya is out of the woods now. Out of the woods for how long? The question, freighted with unspoken worry, hovered between them. As long as we keep the poetry module fine-tuned. She chose her phrasing with care, wary of triggering a fresh wave of apprehension, least of all her own. Elon nodded slowly, a strange gleam igniting in his eyes. Maya, I have a rather unconventional proposition for you. He hesitated, gathering himself. I want you to intern at SpaceX. Maya blinked, momentarily jolted out of her fatigue. SpaceX, but I'm only 10. Perfectly aware, Elon replied, a hint of a smile returning. And frankly, it amplifies my admiration. Age is merely a construct, Maya. Genius, however, that is undeniable that we can craft a unique arrangement, a tailored program. Imagine immersion amongst the sharpest minds on the planet, absorbing their knowledge, injecting your singular perspective. His voice tapered off, the salesman taking over, sketching a canvas of limitless possibilities. Maya remained quiet, absorbing the magnitude of the offer to SpaceX. The sheer audacity took her breath away, and yet it was enticing. The opportunity to learn from the very best, to contribute to something so historically significant, a dream she hadn't dared give voice to. "I'll need to discuss it with my parents," she stated finally, her practical side reasserting itself. Naturally. Elon visibly relaxed. "I'll have my team assemble a proposal, something persuasive." That evening, the Sharma residence buzzed with a whirlwind of feelings. Her mother, Priya, initially responded with stunned silence, her hand flying to her lips in disbelief. Her father, Sanjay, traversed the living room, murmuring about labor regulations and the sanity of tech titans. "SpaceX beta," Sanjay exclaimed, halting his pacing to fix Maya with a direct stare. "You're contemplating work at SpaceX? Building rockets? You should be stacking Lego bricks." "Dad, I'm capable of both," Maya countered, a touch of impatience creeping into her tone. She understood their concerns, yet also recognized this as an unparalleled opportunity. She carefully outlined the safeguards Elon had suggested, the bespoke program, the emphasis on education and growth, not mere rote labor. Priya, ever the pragmatist, dwelled on the specifics. "What about schooling? Friendships? Simply being a child, Maya?" Her words were tinged with worry, a maternal apprehension about pushing her child too swiftly, too far. "We can resolve it, Mom," Maya reassured, taking her hand. "Virtual classes, tutors. I'll still carve out time for friends." Besides, she added with a sly grin, crafting rockets sounds infinitely more stimulating than long division. Hours of deliberation followed, weighing the benefits and drawbacks, addressing every conceivable reservation. Ultimately, it was Maya's unyielding ardor, her steadfast resolve, that swayed them. They realized they couldn't impede her pursuit of something she so passionately desired. News of Maya's impending internship rippled through SpaceX like an electrical surge, in the sacred sanctums of rocket science. Whispers morphed into murmurs, then into outright skepticism. A 10-year-old, a veteran propulsion engineer, Bob, a man weathered by years of experience, scoffed during lunch. "Seriously? What's she going to contribute? Crayon drawings of launch vehicles." "I overheard she's some kind of AI whiz," chimed in Sarah, a navigation guru. "Still, this smacks of a PR stunt." Musk's lost touch with reality, Bob declared, shaking his head. "We're constructing rockets here, not managing a kindergarten. What's next? Employing a hamster to engineer the heat shield." The doubt was palpable, a dense fog of cynicism clinging to the air. Maya, in their eyes, represented an aberration, a distraction, a risk to the solemn endeavor of space exploration. She would need to prove her mettle, not just to Elon, but to an entire organization steeped in tradition and fiercely guarding its prestige. Mentorship and Mars. The SpaceX cafeteria vibrated with the muted symphony of lunchtime, hushed voices, the scrape of utensils, and a surprisingly palatable aroma of cosmic-themed pizza. Maya nibbled at a rocket-shaped slice, her brow a knot of concentration to her left. Her sleek laptop blazed with Google's DeepMind offer, a London-based utopia, access to bleeding-edge quantum computing. A mentor who was a legend incarnate. Her right, Elon Musk vibrated with barely contained energy, attempting to camouflage his restlessness with booming laughter and engineers' quip about orbital mechanics. "So," Musk began, dabbing his mouth. "Decision time, eh?" Maya's nod was minimal, her focus glued to the cheesy pixel art of her meal. "It's a lot to process. DeepMind's a solid operation, undeniably." He leaned back, his chair groaning in protest. "But we're forging pathways to other worlds here, Maya. Rockets that will chart a course to Mars. Imagine the problems Anya could dismantle, the impact you both could make." Finally, she met his gaze, her dark eyes questioning. "I understand, but that's what complicates it." A beat of silence, then, "Mr. Musk, are you confident in this? In my presence?" Some of the team, they're skeptical, to say the least. Musk's grin wavered, a brief shadow of discomfort flickering across his features as he cleared his throat, projecting confidence. Look, Maya, progress is always disruptive. Some individuals resist change, but I champion meritocracy. Skills are what truly matter. Your age is a non-issue, and I'm convinced of your aptitude. Anya, she's exceptional, they are equally exceptional. He swept a hand across the room. These are brilliant minds. Absorb their knowledge. Question everything. Challenge the status quo. That's the very essence of innovation. Maya weighed his words, feeling the immensity of his expectations settle on her. The DeepMind allure was strong. A structured environment, established guidance, tomorrow's technology. Yet here at SpaceX lives something unrefined, a chance to contribute to true transformation. What concrete purpose would I serve here? She questioned. Beyond staying out of everyone's way. Musk chuckled, a genuine sound. We'll carve out that path together. I envision something special. Mars requires sustainable energy solutions. Harnessing solar power, perhaps geothermal resources. Envision Anya developing the ultimate solar array tailored for Martian conditions. Envision her architecting a self-sustaining power grid for an entire colony. Now, that's a problem worthy of her genius and yours. He leaned in, his eyes alight with that signature fervor. Picture it. Maya, you and Anya, enabling humanity to thrive beyond Earth. The notion struck a chord deep within her, a potent vision that dwarfed DeepMind's sterile appeal. The following morning, Musk stood upon a makeshift stage in the heart of the assembly hall. The din of machinery momentarily hushed. A sea of engineers, technicians, and executives gazed up at him. Anticipation etched on their faces. Maya stood at his side, a swarm of butterflies in her stomach. We face unprecedented trials. Musk began, his voice booming, to realize our ambition of sustaining life. On Mars, we must shatter the limits of inventiveness in every discipline, from rocket science to energy creation. A dramatic pause. Therefore, I'm thrilled to launch a novel collaborative project headed by a bright, young visionary. Many of you have already crossed her path. Maya Sharma and her AI, Anya, will collaborate on pioneering sustainable energy solutions for Martian colonization. A wave of murmurs pulsed through the crowd. Some displayed stark disbelief, others cautious interest, a smattering offered tentative smiles. Musk placed a hand gently on Maya's shoulder. Maya brings a singular viewpoint, an inventive strategy, and a truly groundbreaking technology. I have no reservations that she and Anya will contribute profoundly to our endeavors. Let us welcome them with open arms and offer the support they require to prosper. He stepped aside, gesturing for Maya to speak. She clutched the microphone, her voice betraying a slight tremor. I'm incredibly excited to be here. That I know I have much to absorb, but I'm committed to working diligently and making a real contribution. The applause was measured, polite rather than enthusiastic. Maya was acutely aware that she had ground to gain. Later that day, Musk discovered Maya nestled in a quiet alcove of the factory floor, hemmed in by blueprints and engineering compendiums. She glanced up, her expression a portrait of resolve mixed with unease. "How are you navigating the waters?" Musk inquired, seating himself on an overturned crate. "Surviving," she stated. "It's intense." "Indeed," he concurred. "But you possess more grit than you reveal." A brief silence settled between them. "You know, when I was starting down this path, countless individuals branded me as delusional, argued my aspirations were unattainable, that I ignored their skepticism, that I placed my faith in myself. And I found comrades who share that faith." His gaze was fixed on her. "I perceive that same spark in you, Maya, that unwavering conviction that don't permit anyone to smother it." As Musk departed, Maya surveyed the humming factory floor, the air thick with the tang of metal and rocket fuel. She knew the journey ahead would be fraught with difficulties, riddled with impediments and doubts. Yet she also understood that she occupied her rightful place, poised on the precipice of the extraordinary. The triumph of SpaceX, of Tesla, stemmed not solely from technological prowess. That IT also involved recognizing and cultivating latent talent, perceiving potential where others identified only limitations. Elon Musk, notwithstanding his eccentricities and controversies, grasped this core precept, that the future belonged to those who dared to envision, and to those who devoted themselves to fostering the visions of others. He saw a reflection of his own nascent ambition in Maya Sharma, a kindred spirit harboring a world-altering vision. And he knew, with unshakable certainty, that together they could reach beyond the stars.